So it's now my privilege to start the proceeding officially. So I have no title, I have no mandate, I just saw a mic open and I grabbed it. So ek is nie regtig die persoon wat hierdie vergadering lei nie. Ek het maar nie die vergadering, ek het gesien hierdie podium is oop, toe kom praat ek maar met julle. Ek gaan nou die president, advokaat Jan Jennis aan julle voorstel. So indien u die proseduredokument gelees het, sal u sien dat die president moet die voorsitter wat hierdie proses gaan bestuur aanwys. En die proses sal ons hardloop in terme van daardie proseduredokument. So we are now going to start the proceedings. I'm going to call on the president, advocaat Jan Jennis, who will then take the proceeding forward to get our chairperson elected for the evening. Baie dankie advocaat.
Goeienaand dames en here. Good evening ladies and gentlemen. Baie dankie dat jy die moeite gedoen het om vanaand hier te wees. Thank you for having taken the trouble to join us this evening. Ek wil ook dankie sê aan die mense wat ingeskakel het om aanlyn deel te neem aan vanaand se geleentheid. Thank you also to the alumni who are joining us and will be joining us online to participate in the proceedings this evening. Ek verstaan dat sommige van u baie moeite moes doen om dit reg te kry. I understand that some of you had to go to significant trouble to achieve that. Daarvoor sê ek ook vir u dankie, and for that I also thank you. This meeting was constitutionally called in terms of the statute to consider two motions. You know what they are. Hierdie geleentheid is byeengeroep as 'n buitengewone vergadering van die Konvokasie om twee voorstelle, mosies, te oorweeg en daaroor 'n besluit te neem. Alvorens ons dit doen, vir redes wat voor die hand liggend is, kan ek nie vanaand die voorsitter wees nie en kan die visiepresident ook nie die voorsitter wees nie. Die partye het daarom besluit om by u aan te beveel, soos wat ek nou doen, dat ons regter Benny Griesel, wat ingestem het om die rol van voorsitter te vervul, aan te stel vir die doel. The parties have agreed that we all recommend to you to appoint, hopefully by unanimous decision, and that likely will be the only unanimous decision tonight, to assume the role of chairperson of this meeting. May I have a proposal that retired Judge Griesel assume that responsibility? Kan ek 'n voorstel kry dat regter Griesel dit doen? Ek het voorstelle. Is daar enige iemand daarteen of kan ons dit eenparig aanvaar? Baie dankie, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I shall now hand the chair over to retired Judge Benny Griesel. And as of now, people that are participating online are at liberty to start voting, and they can vote until 1900 hours tomorrow evening. Diegene wat, ek gaan nou die voorsitter stoel oorhandig aan regter Griesel. Diegene wat aanlyn deelneem aan hierdie verrigtinge, kan van nou af tot môre aand 7 uur hulle stemme uitbring vir die onderskeie of teen die onderskeie mosies. Baie dankie vir die geduld dat u 'n bietjie langer gewag het as wat u waarskynlik verwag het om te wag. Ek versoek nou regter Griesel om my verantwoordelikhede op sy breë skouers te neem. Baie dankie.
Meneer die president, dames en here, baie dankie vir die vertroue wat u in my gestel het om hierdie warm stoel vanaand oor te neem. Thank you very much for the confidence placed in me to assume this very delicate and somewhat onerous task this evening. Be that as it may, I am grateful for the confidence that you've placed in me, and I will try my utmost to see that this meeting is run as smoothly and as orderly as we possibly can. So ja. Wat? Wie? Okay. Kan jy my almal hoor daar agter? Kan nie hoor nie. Okay, is it beter? Okay. Just before we start, as Advocate Hienis indicated, there have been certain discussions to agree on the procedure to be followed this evening. And to that end, we have agreed on a few rules of order to govern the proceedings. Nothing exceptional, but just to make it clear, we will deal with the two motions separately, starting with motion number 1. Ons sal begin met die eerste mosie, en dit sal dan voorgestel word deur die betrokke voorstellers. Daarna sal die gehoor 'n geleentheid kry om deel te neem en hulle menings uit te spreek daaroor, vir of teen. Na afloop daarvan sal daar gestem word oor die eerste mosie. En nadat die stemming afgehandel is, sal ons dan voortgaan met die tweede mosie. Ek wil net gou hierso die mosies kry vir my. Die voorstel is dat die voorstellers van die eerste mosie geleentheid sal kry om dit te motiveer en toe te lig, en dat daarvoor 'n maksimum van 10 minute toegelaat sal word. The proposer of the first motion will introduce that motion and will have a maximum of 10 minutes to do so. I'm sorry, there are microphones that you can use. Oh, the people.
Line, not me. Yeah, just
Ja. Kan ons tegniese personeel daaroor 'n bietjie hulp aanbied? Can anybody indicate whether the people online can hear me? Shall we proceed? Okay, thank you. Right, it is now my duty to read the first motion before I put it open for discussion from the floor. The first motion is a motion of no confidence in the Convocation Executive Committee, reading as follows: whereas A, the Institutional Statute of Stellenbosch University records 48.1, the objective of the Convocation is to promote the welfare of the university by maintaining a mutually beneficial relationship between the university and the members of the Convocation, and may advise the Council and the Senate when applicable in this respect. 51.6, the Executive Committee assists the Convocation in the achievement of its objective and the performance of its functions referred to in Clause 48, and gives effect to decisions of the Convocation and must report to the Convocation at its next meeting. 63.1, a body or office bearer on whom a power or function is confirmed by or in terms of the statute may delegate on such terms or conditions as such body or office bearer may determine that power or function to another body, office bearer or staff member of the university, unless the Act or this statute precludes the delegation. B, the mandate of Convocation notes that 1, the Convocation Executive Committee helps the Convocation achieve its objective and perform its function. It gives effect to the decisions of the Convocation. 6.1, the Convocation takes decisions on majority vote. 6.2, each member has 1 vote. Each ballot paper and electronic vote carries equal weight. 6.3, in the event of a tie, the chairperson may exercise a casting vote. 6.4, the registrar must submit advice received from the Convocation to the Council and the Senate. Paragraph C, heading, the Convocation meeting procedures requires that 2.6.2, the Secretary of the Convocation will submit the preliminary record of the meeting approved by the Executive Committee of the Convocation to the Registrar within 30 business days after the meeting, highlighting the advice that the Convocation wishes to submit to the Council and the Senate. 2.6.3, at the next available Senate and Council meeting, the Registrar must submit the advice received from the Convocation. Paragraph D, the Convocation Executive Committee announced a decision purportedly taken on the 14th of April 2023 by Convocation to call for the resignation of the Rector and Vice-Chancellor and Registrar of Stellenbosch University. We present hereby agree and resolve as follows. 1, the Convocation Executive Committee acted in an undemocratic and unconstitutional manner in circumstances where the Convocation had not taken the purported decision in Recordal D above. 2, the Convocation Executive Committee acted in bad faith and contrary to the statute and rules governing Convocation, which requires the Convocation Executive Committee to give effect to decisions of Convocation. 3, accordingly, the Convocation Executive Committee acted without any mandate and contrary to the express provisions of the statute, which records the object of the Convocation as maintaining a mutually beneficial relationship between the university and the members of the Convocation. This unlawful decision caused serious harm to the university's reputation and integrity. 4, Convocation has lost confidence in the Convocation Executive Committee, in brackets, with the exception of the Vice President, Dr. Rudy Buist, and the remainder of the Convocation Executive Committee should vacate their offices forthwith. 5, the Vice President should perform the functions of the Convocation Executive Committee until a new Convocation Executive Committee is elected. 6, the behavior and utterances of the Convocation's elected members to Council, specifically Jan Hinnes and Leon Schreiber, is questionable, and Convocation calls upon the institutional bodies, particularly Council, to take steps to discipline and, to the extent that it is within its powers to do so, to relieve Jan Hinnes and Leon Schreiber of their roles and duties as Council members, including through removal as a matter of urgency. Ek dink nie dit is vir my nodig om hierdie hele lang mosie weer te herhaal in Afrikaans nie, maar ek is seker dat die voorsteller en die sekondante sal daarmee handel soos wat dit nodig mag wees. Hierdie mosie is voorgestel deur Dr. L. van Rijn en word gesekondeer deur 'n lang lys lede van die Konvokasie. Ek vra gevolglik vir Dr. van Rijn om die mosie te kom motiveer.
Dames en here, eerstens baie welkom. Ons weet dat julle hierdie vergadering bywoon omdat julle omgee oor ons alma mater. Dankie vir julle passie en julle omgee en die feit dat julle hier is in Stellenbosch en aanlyn. Die laaste 6 weke het my herinner aan my tyd as 'n presidentsverkenner en waar ons vreeslik sterk gestaan het vir 'n idee. Ons het almal iets waarvoor ons staan en soos ons ouer word, 'n bietjie meer wysheid kry en die groter prentjie verstaan, verander die goed waaroor ons sterk staan, gelukkig. This evening I'm standing here for a convocation that will truly fulfill its mandate to work in the best interests of the university. The only way to achieve this ideal is for the elected office bearers to engage their constituents and get their mandate before they make decisions and communicate these decisions on behalf of all of us without us having an opportunity to engage. Since November last year, Dr. Schreiber has been talking on Twitter about his plan to table a motion of no confidence in Professor de Villiers. This was long before the nepotism story broke. Because Dr. Schreiber is elected to the Stellenbosch University Council by the Convocation, he's essentially speaking on our behalf. Professor Thuli Madonsela and I were uncomfortable about these messages on Twitter and wrote to Dr. Schreiber and Advocate Hiernes on 6th of April this year to ask for a conversation. To this day, we have not received any response from Dr. Schreiber. Advocate Hiernes sent us a short note to let us know that the Executive Committee will discuss our letter at their meeting on the 14th of April. The next thing we saw was a decision by the Executive Committee, to ask for the resignation of Professor de Villiers. Advocate Hiernes believes that he and the Executive Committee members have an implied mandate and that they are therefore able to do as they think fit. We, the members of the Stellenbosch University Convocation, are here to let them know that this is not acceptable. We have asked Yanga Keva, one of our Convocation members, to present the motion on our behalf. Thank you, Yanga.
Chairperson, I am a bit short, so I don't know if this is going to work out for me. Okay, there we go. Chairperson and fellow members of the Convocation, I rise before you with a heart filled with a profound sense of disappointment. The Convocation Executive Committee, the very body that exists solely to assist this convocation by giving effect to its decisions, has made a decision for us without us. What is most concerning, however, is not the decision itself, but the blatant disregard for the voices of the very people it claims to represent. Indeed, with the privilege of power comes the duty to serve. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in a situation where those entrusted with this duty have acted with utter impunity. The executive seeks to justify their actions by arguing that they have and they wield a tacit power to represent the convocation without engaging it. We will soon demonstrate that this argument is unsustainable because the rules entrust the executive with no power other than the duty to give effect to our decisions. Importantly, here, consultation is not a mere formality. It is the essence of what the convocation is. It ensures that decisions reflect the diverse perspectives and experiences of the convocation. By ignoring this critical step, the executive effectively silenced our voices, rendering us mere spectators in our own institution. What raises questions about the motives of the executive is that such a consequential choice, announced in the media as the voice of the convocation, was made behind closed doors without even the semblance of transparency. The motion, which seeks to vindicate the voices silenced by the executive, will be supported by the following 4 arguments. Our first argument is about the very nature of the executive, which begins with Section 1 of the mandate of the convocation, read with clause 48.1 of the institutional statute, which states that the convocation is empowered to advise Council and Senate in order to maintain a mutually beneficial relationship between the university and members of the convocation. The right of the convocation and its members to engage these institutional bodies is enhanced by clause 50 point 12 of the statute, which ensures that the registrar must submit any advice received by the convocation to these institutional bodies. The only condition for the exercise of these protected rights is compliance with clause 50.9, which states that decisions of this nature must be taken with the majority vote at a meeting of the convocation. The only correct interpretation of these provisions is that no decision or advice made in terms of the name of the convocation may be made without the convocation. What is clear is that the mandate of this convocation declares that it is a platform for us to discuss issues and to engage the institution. Making decisions without opening that platform strips the convocation of its identity, of its utility, and it ultimately erodes its very purpose. Our second argument goes to the idea that the executive committee acted undemocratically. This motion is not against a single individual. It is about standing against a way of decision-making. The executive's argument that it is empowered to act on behalf of the convocation, although creative, is unsustainable and arrogant, because the executive's responsibilities and powers are constrained by the institutional rules. Clause 51.6 of the statute states that the executive exists to give effect to decisions of the convocation, not to make decisions on behalf of the convocation. It doesn't matter how pressing an issue is, it should be more important to this executive committee to protect the right to democratic and transparent engagement. The executive cannot simply abandon institutional rules simply because those rules are inconvenient for them. The last is the bad faith that permeates a decision of the executive, as evidenced through the relevant facts. The executive adopted the motion on the 14th of April, and it blasted the Senate for adopting a motion of confidence in the rector. And in its own motion, it tables a motion and asks that the registrar and the rector resign, and it lists a number of issues. It lists as the reason for this resignation the Human Rights Commission report, the use of language in residences, the Senate being allowed to communicate its decision with the alumni, and lastly, what it calls repeated instances of poor judgment and the management style of the rector. The registrar's office was correct to deny the request to circulate this decision because it was invalidly taken without having convened a meeting of the convocation. On the 27th of May, the convocation president, in a written piece in Die Burger, stated further reasons for why the executive acted unilaterally. He complained that the university is filled with people who disagree with his perspective as it pertains to the language question. And he stated that the executive's decision was motivated by the 2016 language policy, the appointment of the chancellor, the institutional response to the Heisenberg P incident, the Human Rights Commission report, and lastly, the allegations of nepotism. Notably, the president takes the view that he is fed up. Well, if the chairperson or the president of the convocation is indeed fed up, then I believe he needs to reconsider whether or not he should continue to occupy a position that expects of him to indeed help us in our dialogue. Our fourth and our final argument is that this is a precedent that cannot stand unchallenged. The convocation executive changes hands every 3 years. And in fact, this year, we are electing a new executive committee. Today, the executive might very well believe in a conservative ideology, but tomorrow, the executive might be in the hands of radical communists. The question that we must ask each of ourselves today is whether it is okay for the convocation members and its executive committee to pursue their ideological agenda in the name of the convocation without the convocation. There is no guarantee that the members of the executive will always believe in what you believe, but there is certainty in our alternative, where regardless of what the members of the executive believe, they nonetheless take their cue from our collective voice and wisdom. In this alternative, your voice will always matter. But if we today set the wrong precedent, then your voice could be erased tomorrow. In conclusion, Chairperson, I call upon each and every single one of you to vote in favor of this motion. We must remind them and future elected leaders of this convocation that their powers are derived from us, and it is our collective strength that sustains this convocation. We cannot, we will not tolerate such disregard for our collective wisdom. Let us stand united. Let us demand transparency, and let's work towards a future where decisions for us are made with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. In terms of the agreed rules of procedure, I now call on Advocate Jan Hinnes to address the meeting for a maximum of 10 minutes. Advocate Hinnes.
Ladies and gentlemen, can everyone hear me? Dames en here, baie dankie dat u gekom het weer eens. Thank you for coming. Let me pierce the veil that is so deftly held up. Maar laat ek dit eers sê. Ek het ingestem tot 'n ontmoeting met Dr. van Ryn en Professor Thuli Madonsela. Ek het op hulle versoek datums aan hulle beskikbaar gestel. En Dr. van Ryn het in die gesprek wat ons gehad het en wat in rapport weergegee is, erken dat sy nooit daarop geantwoord het nie. Die ander punt ter aanvang is dat Dr. Rudy Buys was net so deel van die besluit om die mosie te aanvaar en daaroor sal later meer gesê word as wat die ander lede van die uitvoerende komitee was. Ons sê graag Stellenbosch staan vir 'n idee. Ek stel my voor dat hierdie idee nie staties is nie. Dat dit met verloop van tyd verander en aanpas. But the idea that Stellenbosch represents should never discard the basic philosophy that the university should be an institution of learning, where there should be free, open, earnest, and honest exchanges of views and informed debate to persuade and convince participants and to be open to persuasion yourself. What it should never dispense with is that which should be foundational to institutions such as this is the truth and the pursuit of the truth. To stand, as I do, for what is right. In die verlede, maar veral in die aanloop tot hierdie geleentheid, hierdie byeenkoms, het mense wat my nie geken het nie, en nie ken nie, soos Dr. van Ryn, wat nog nooit iets gelees het wat ek geskryf het nie, wat nog nooit geluister het na wat ek sê nie, wat nog nooit met my in 'n gesprek getree het nie, en wat nog nooit 'n vergadering van die Konvokasie bygewoon het nie, my daarvan beskuldig dat ek 'n rasis is, wat die universiteit terugploeg na wit bevoorregting van die apartheidsjare en dat ek teen transformasie is. Hierdie mense weier om verwar te word met die feite. Maar wat dit doen, dames en here, is dit forceer my om iets te doen waarvan ek nie hou nie en wat ek graag sou wou vermy. Hulle laat my egter met geen keuse nie, anders as om te sê, dat ek in die middel 70er jare, toe apartheid hoogtyd gevier het, die voorblad van 'n Engelse weekblad gehaal het, omdat ek in Pakkelsdorp se stadsaal die huildrank op 'n bruin vriend van my en sy bruid ingestel het. And if you are unappreciative of the significance of that, you have no idea how invasive apartheid really was. Ek het op 35-jarige ouderdom as hoofstaatsregsadviseur in die kantoor van die president bedank oor die wyse waarop hy eerwaarde Ellen Hendrikse, die leier van die destydse Arbeidsparty, behandel het, nadat hy gedurende 'n Desembervakansie by 'n sogenaamde Witstrand gaan swem het. Ek was ook 'n spesiale adviseur vir die grondwetgewende vergadering wat in 1996 die grondwet wat tans ons land se regering beheers en ons regte beskerm geformuleer het. When I told the president what my reasons for resignation were, his response was that I had become a victim of international humanism. Despite the fact that I had a family to support, I gave up when I resigned a handsome salary, a housing subsidy, membership of a pension fund, generous medical aid, accumulated leave, and a car, and started from scratch as a junior member of the Cape Bar. So I say to my accusers and that of my fellow members of the executive committee, popularly elected to those positions by you, ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea who you are calling a racist and a reactionary. And if you do, the people who support me, and there are some, have treated your speakers, people speaking on your behalf, with dignity and silence. And if you do, I understand that the truth is uncomfortable. But if you do, your public utterances, if you know me, then your public utterances are lies and you are dishonest. Show me your credentials before you talk to me about social injustice and racism. Before you cast aspersions on me. But there are none as deaf as those who do not want to hear. None as blind as those who do not want to see. And none as dead as those who do not want to live in truth. The objective of the convocation is, as the motion articulates, to promote the welfare of the university by maintaining a mutually beneficial relationship between it, its members, and the university, and it may advise council and the Senate when applicable. The executive committee assists the convocation in this regard, gives effect to its decisions, and report to the convocation at its next meeting. This I have invariably and conscientiously done for 3 terms during which I was its president. Hierdie verantwoordelikheid behels sonder twyfel dat wanneer daar gebeure plaasvind wat die goeie naam van die universiteit skade berokken, die konvokasie of die uitvoerende komitee daarvan namens die konvokasie daaroor in die beste belang van die universiteit 'n standpunt behoort te kan inneem. Deur die jare was die konvokasie die enigste struktuur van die universiteit wat nie alles wat die bestuur of die senaat of die raad of almal van hulle met applaus begroet of gedoen het met applaus begroet of onkrities gade geslaan het nie. Ons was getrou aan die idee waarvoor Stellenbosch staan. Kort na sy aanstelling het die rektor en die bestuur, dit was in 2015 op onreëlmatige wyse gepoog om die taalbeleid van die universiteit sonder die medewerking van die raad en die senaat te vervang. Dit moes met 'n Dit moes met 'n hofbevel omgekeer word. Daarna het hy, terwyl hy 'n party was tot 'n saak wat voor die konstitusionele hof gedien het, een van die regters van daardie hof uitgenooi om hom beskikbaar te stel as 'n kandidaat vir die kanselierskap. Daardie regter is nou die kanselier en die uitspraak wat hy gelewer het, was ten gunste van die rektor. Dit is 'n skandaal. Toe het hy op eie inisiatief die Kompepe-komitee aangestel en verder is hy onlangs het hy erken dat hy hom skuldig gemaak het aan nepotisme. Asof dit nie erg genoeg was nie, het hy die tweede plasing in die mediese fakulteit gekanseleer toe dit op die lappe gekom het. Nie alleen was dit onregverdig teenoor die betrokke student nie, maar die rektor het dit gedoen om homself te beskerm. Hieroor moes ons uitspreek. Ek doen aan die hand dat dit 'n verantwoordelike ding was om te doen en dat daar geen rede is om te dink dat die ontsteltenis waarmee dit deur die breë publiek begroet is, nie gedeel word deur die lede van die konvokasie nie. Ek is daarvan oortuig dat u hierdie standpunt deel. The truth of the matter is that the nepotism charges have made it necessary to silence the voice of the only university structure which still evaluates, challenges, criticizes, and take issue with the decisions and conduct of other structures of the university. I will wind up. I have a few seconds of the interruptions that I have experienced. Thank you. To silence those who have become the university's conscience. Dink vir 'n oomblik na oor die volkomme absurditeit daarvan, dat u gevra word om van ons ontslae te raak, terwyl ons nie die nepotiste is nie, terwyl dit nie ons is wat met regters praat, wat voorsit in sake waartoe ons 'n party is nie, terwyl ons nie die uitsprake van dissiplinêre komitees van die universiteit vooruitloop nie. En ek eindig. Those who cling to what is bad and objectionable because they fear what it will be replaced with, which, if it is discarded, elevate what is bad and objectionable to the norm. I will not accept that, and I urge you to not accept it either. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Jonas. Die mosie is nou oop vir bespreking van die vloer af. Daar is mikrofone wat rondgaan en wat deur u gebruik kan word. U word versoek om asseblief u hand op te steek en aan te dui wat u naam is en om daarna u standpunt te stel so kort en kragtig as moontlik. Klaarblyklik kan ons nie vir almal hier so 'n spreekbeurt gee vanaand nie, maar ons sal probeer om sover moontlik die mense te akkommodeer. Die persoon hiervoor het sy hand eers opgehad en dan is daar een in die heel agterste ry en een hiervoor. Ons gaan voorlopig by hierdie 3 sprekers hou.
Goeienaand dames en here, dankie meneer die voorsitter, kan julle my hoor?
Bietjie harder.
My naam is Dirk van die Kerk en ek voel dat die werklike motief van Dr. van Ryn se mosie ook ondersoek moet word vanaand. Vir die van julle wat nie weet nie, Dr. van Ryn, Tuli Maronsela, Jonathan Jansen en Rudy Buys is almal goeie vriende en ou kamerade. Saam met hulle draf 'n jong man met die naam van Thembaletu Seyisi. Dis glo die opkomende stem van die nuwe generasie. Hy word gereeld gesien in die geselskap van professor Maronsela, van Ryn, Wim de Villiers, Rudy Buys en selfs die nuwe raadsvoorsitter Newton King. Hierdie span was instrumenteel tot die verkiesing van Rudy Buys as die visiepresident tot die konvokasie. Na die klagtes van nepotisme teen Wim de Villiers geopenbaar is, het professor Maronsela op 'n Twitterveld toe gegaan, waarin sy absoluut professor de Villiers sy onskuld probeer bewys het. Sy is gesterk in daardie motief van haar deur Dr. van Ryn. Meneer Sejisi het saamgewerk. Daar was baie spesifieke veldtog gewees met toesprake van professor Maronsela, as ook nuusartikels deur Maronsela. En dit is alles, ek kom by die punt meneer, gee my 'n kans. Dit is alles ondersteun deur Dr. van Ryn. Inteendeel, sy en Sejisi het hulle gereeld tot Twitter gewend en die woorde van Maronsela aangehaal. Die volgende woorde is baie belangrik. Under Wim's leadership, the university is slowly emerging from the shadows of its past collusion in designing, propping up, benefiting from, and implementing apartheid in its institutional practices. Despite the storms, de Villiers remains resolute. Nou, dis baie insiggewend dat dit die geveg was wat Van Ryn en Maronsela gekies het om te veg, nog lank voor die uitvoerende komitee van die Konvokasie 'n woord daaroor gerep het. Maar toe die nuus breek, die 14de April, dat die uitvoerende komitee van die Konvokasie 'n ferm besluit neem en ook opstaan vir dit wat reg is, het hulle eenvoudig woedend geraak op Twitter en op Twitter vir Dr. Rudy Buys tot orde geroep met die volgende woorde: @Rudy Buys, how did this happen? Rudy Buys moes toe kom verantwoording doen aan die mense wat hom verkies het as visiepresident van die Konvokasie. En dan het hy geantwoord: Thank you for engaging. I'm bound by meeting confidence, but suffice to say that the call to resign is by the majority. It is correct that broad consultation with Convo members did not inform the debate. A gap in how things have been done over time that must be and will be corrected. Buys het verseker besef dat hulle verduideliking van hom afsoek, maar hy het baie versigtig geantwoord. Van Ryn en Maronsela het daardie antwoord gehardloop en binne 'n dag daarna was daar 'n petisie teen die uitvoerende komitee. Binne 'n dag daarna, die 16 April, was daar 'n brief ingedien by die raad wat geteken is deur Maronsela, Jansen en 228 konvokasielede. Vir het sluitlike doel om te keer dat die raad op 17 April voortgaan met die mosie van wantroue teen professor de Villiers. Dit is die kruks van die saak. Dis die kruks van die saak. Dit gaan oor die beweerde of die klagtes van nepotisme teen Wim de Villiers. En om vanaand hier te staan en te maak asof hierdie mosie gaan oor 'n misbruik van prosedure deur die uitvoerende komitee, is totaal en al disingenuous. Dis totaal en al van enige waarheid ontbloot. Dis 'n totaal en alles skyn. En ek sê dit vir u reguit, dat u onderrok hang ver uit, Dr. van Ryn. Wanneer u maak en u vriend moes kry om die praatwerk vir u te doen oor wat die geïmpliseerde terme is van die konstitusiese reëls. Dis nie die waarheid nie. Daardie reëls het hy self gesê, dit wat hy daarby probeer impliseer is sy opinie. Gaan lees vir u self wat staan in die reëls van die universiteit. Daar is nie die reëls wat hy probeer opmaak het vanaand nie. Baie dankie.
Point of information. What is the point? Just the microphone here for this gentleman, please.
Good evening, Judge. The point of information is this. You started off by saying that, of course, the aim is to allow for the most number of voices to be heard. And so we want to be just and fair and equitable in that. I'm not quite sure as to how long the lengthy sharing of my fellow graduate was, but the question is, how long was it? Will everyone be afforded that time? If not, could you please rule on what will be a fair, equitable duration, be it for a statement or a question, because surely that cannot be allowed to be replicated to ensure the maximum number of voices. Please rule, Chair.
Yes, I will certainly bear that in mind, and I would request members of the audience to stick to the topic under consideration, which is the first motion. The person at the back of the audience that had his hand up is the second member that will be given the opportunity. Please.
Mr. Chairman. It's not on.
Just a moment.
Hello.
I indicated 3 potential speakers, and let's first get their contributions, and then I will invite other members of the audience to put up their hands.
Okay. Mr. Chairman,
Goeienaand.
my name is Austin Jackson. Sorry, the mic is not on? Thank you. My name is Austin Jackson.
Hallo.
Is it on?
So please announce yourself. Kan ons uw naam kry asseblief?
Die naam is Austin Jackson. Ek wil net so 'n staaltjie vertel voor ek begin. Ek was predikant gewees hier by verskillende plekke al. En een keer toe kom daar 'n man, hy kry ondersteuning van die staat. Hy kom na my toe, hy sê, Vader, die staat wil elke jaar hê ek moet die papier invul, die predikant moet dit invul. Sal u dit invul vir my? Ek sê, ja, Davy. En terwyl ek dit invul, toe sê hy vir my, my pa was moslim gewees, en hy het vir my geleer, daar's 3 dinge wat ek nooit moet vergeet nie. Ek vra Davy, wat is die 3 dinge? Hy sê, my pa het altyd gesê, Davy moet nooit vergeet om goeiemôre te sê, en dankie, en assebliefie. Dan sal jy deur die lewe gaan, my kind. En hy sê, ek het nog tot vandag toe, het ek daai raad gevolg. Daarom was ek nog nooit in die tronkie. Op die mosie, daar is rituals van respect, wat advokaat Jenus van vergeet het. Die akte wat gelees was hierso, wat gaan oor die werk van die konvokasie, is baie duidelik daaroor, dat die konvokasie moet goeie verhoudinge tussen die universiteit en die konvokasie handhaaf. En ek sal gedink het, dat hy moes eers vir 'n gewone vergadering gevra het, om die dinge te bespreek. Maar hy het sommer gespring van so 'n vergadering af oor daai vergadering na 'n buitengewone vergadering. En dit demonstreer vir my die soort van neydigheid wat ons gesien het in die tyd van apartheid, toe die groepsgebiede wet gebruik was om die landgemeenskappe op te breek. En die mosie probeer om die aandag van die konvokasie op dit te vestig. So ek ondersteun die mosie. En ek hoop dat as die mosie deurgaan met sukses, dat die volgende mosie nie sal nodig wees nie.
Baie dankie. The next speaker is the lady in front here. Can you hand the microphone to the lady in the 3rd row, please?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leonie Wilkinson. I am a very proud alumni of Stellenbosch University, which is an institution that has helped me grow immensely as a person, and also my CV, very funny enough. And I am here tonight because As someone that has served and has led a lot of student leaders myself, I was Prim, and I was Prim Committee Chairperson. I served on the SRC, and I am, as you can tell, hopefully, I am still a somewhat young alumni. I have an idea. I've worked for the institution as well for a while. I have an idea of what students are currently facing, but also what people my generation require from this institution as an alumni. And I would like to say, as someone that has attended the last convocation meeting, which was on the 21st of April last year, so please question that if you want to ask about how much we want to be consulted. We were here last time, well, not here, Kutzenberg Center, and the demographic did not look like it does tonight. There were a lot of more older people, which I'm so grateful that you guys are so invested in this institution. But it's also incredibly powerful to see how many young alumni are here tonight. And I would like to thank the Alumni Relations Office for making that happen. I think that we've derailed this conversation. I think that we are not focusing on what needs to be focused. And that is the fact that the Convocation Executive does not consult with the Convocation. We are not here to speak about VIM. We are not here to speak about anything else. We are here to talk about the Convocation and the conversation that the Convocation Executive has and consultation that they have with their constituents. Thank you. As a student who has attended this institution, who has helped write the new student constitution, along with Yanga Keva, who did brilliantly, by the way, I would like to say we have had enough. We are tired. We appreciate everyone's input, but it is also time to realize that you need to accept that the university is moving forward. And that is incredibly crucial to students who are currently studying here for our degrees to mean something if we want to go to an international environment. We can no longer be tied to what the old regulations and rules were of the institution. We need to move with the times. We need to continue growing with students. And I would like to understand why the Convocation Executive doesn't allow for that. That is my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goeienaand. Goeienaand. Ek dink dit is nou my
Is
beurt.
dit Dr. Wiese wat wil praat?
Kan u my hoor regter? Ek dink is nou my beurt.
Just stand there with the microphone to Dr. Wiese, please. Nee, ons is nou in Stellenbosch.
Voorzitter, net voordat ek en u miskien beskuldig word van konkelarij, wil ek net op rekord plaas dat ons jare gelede albei aan die balie as collega's gepraktiseer het.
Ja.
In my geval het mense later my pa gevra, wat doen Christo? En sy antwoord was, die kerel het in die regte studeer en in die verkeerde gedwaal. Die punt wat ek wil maak, is ek het na advokaat Jennis geluister, en wat my opgeval het, is dat van sy 10 minute, wat u hom gegee het, het hy meer as die helfte van die tyd spandeer, om te verduidelik, dat hy nie rassist is nie, of 'n reaksionair. Ek het dit interessant gevind, want in die 60er jare, toe ek hier 'n student was hier ook baie woelinge tussen die sogenaamde verligters en die verkramptes. Stellenbosch was in die greep van die superverkramptes in die ASB. En wanneer hulle aangeval is, was hulle verweer altyd. Nee, dis die verkeerde man wat dit sê, want hy's 'n libertyn of hy's 'n wilgeloffer, min of meer dieselfde ding. En nommer 2, julle volg nie die regte prosedure, maar hulle het nooit met die meriete van die saak gehandel. Nou vind ek my vanaand in die ongemaklike posisie, dat ek gaan stem vir hierdie mosie, wat gaan oor die feit dat die regte prosedure nie gevolg is nie. Dit gaan nie hier oor die meriete van professor de Villiers, of professor Madonsela, of wie ook al Dr. Buys nie. Dit gaan oor 'n beginsel. Die meriete het die uitvoerende komitee van die konvokasie volgens die konstitusie die reg om so 'n besluit te neem sonder om die konvokasie daaraan te ken. Ek het hier gesit en luister nou na persoonlike aanvalle op professor de Villiers, op Dr. Van Ryn, op Dr. Buys, maar die kernpunt het ek nog geen teenargument gehoor wat sê nee, die uitvoerende komitee het 100% binne hulle regte opgetree vir hierdie redes. So ek wil aansluit by die vorige spreker en sê, hou dit in gedagte. Hierdie vergadering gaan nie oor die meriete van professor de Villiers of wie ook al nie. Dit gaan oor hierdie kernpunt. Baie dankie.
Dankie.
Of die mense wat wil Goeienaand. Meneer die voorsitter
The lady
kan nie
here
my
in the
hoor.
first row, and then the gentleman right at the back.
Meneer die voorsitter kan nie my hoor.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, my name is Taryn Conn. I'm an alumni, and I'm the wife of the late Ainsley Moose, who was the chairman of this council up until his untimely death in January. And I say that just for those who don't know me and for some who had clearly not remembered my face. What I want to say is exactly, thank you very much, Dr. Visser, for saying, is that this issue has got nothing to do with your pedigree. It's got to do with the fact that there is a statute at this university. And when you live with a chairman, you watch things happen. And I believe that it was the late Russell Botman who said, this university, which by the way has got the only functional council of all universities in the country, is the only university where the council agendas are debated in the media before they are debated in the room. I believe that is a breach not only of ethics but also of the statute. So again, I just wanted to thank Dr. Visser to say this issue is about whether or not the convocation who is elected by the convocation, executive elected by the convocation, not because of their pedigree, but because they represent the convocation, actually follow the rules of the statute. So I just wanted to make that point. Thank you very much.
Meneer die voorsitter,
Thank you. The person right at the
ek
back.
dink nie, werk my mikrofoon. Kan julle my hoor? Werk my mikrofoon.
Speak up, please.
Goed, goeienaand, my naam is Karen. Ek wil net graag gou klarigheid kry. Is dit waar en korrek dat enige kommunikasie wat na die konvokasie toe gestuur word, deur die universiteit gedoen word en goedgekeur moet word? En so met ander woorde, hulle kon 'n kommunikasie van die uitvoerende komitee wat so 'n mosie voorstel teen die rektor, hulle kan dit dan weier. Ek wil graag weet, hoe word daar verwag van die uitvoerende komitee om met die konvokasie te gesels of te kommunikeer indien die komitee iets wil sê? Dit is tog hoekom hulle gekies word. Hulle word gekies om namens ons te praat. En word daar regtig verwag van die uitvoerende komitee om vir elke liewe saak wat op die kampus gebeur met die konvokasie eers te kommunikeer voordat daar 'n standpunt ingeneem het. Ek wil net graag asseblief klarigheid hê daaroor. Dankie.
Net voordat ek verdere bydraes van die vloer af toelaat, is my aandag daarop gevestig dat daar van die aanlyn bywoners is wat ook bydraes wil lewer. And I will ask the people in charge of the online facilities to just convey the contents of such contributions to us, please.
Baie dankie. Ek verteenwoordig die Afrikaanse stroom. Hier is ook Engelse vrae, maar hier is 2 vrae wat baie spesifiek gerig is, baie kommentaar, maar is 2 vrae wat eerstens aan Rudy Buys gerig word, en dit is, mag ek vra hoe komitee lid Buys anders as die ander opgetree het, is dit moontlik om te verduidelik. En dan ook dan 'n vraag aan die president. The president has spoken at length about his personal life, but has not answered the question, does the executive committee have the power to take a decision on behalf of Convocation? Please answer, Advocate Hennis.
Ja, dankie vir daardie bydraes van die aanlyn bywoners. Ek nooi nou verdere deelnemers uit om te praat. Hier is een persoon hier en ek vang een met 'n paar. Vat die microfoon.
Oké, dankie. Meneer de voorzitter, ek dink teen die tyd dat die mense wat na hierdie vergadering gekom het, nog nie die idee verander hoekom hulle in die vergadering toe gekom het. So ek stel voor ons stem.
Ja, nee,
Jy is maar net honger.
dit mag wees dat dit 'n sinvolle voorstel is, maar ek dink terwyl daar nog lede van die gehoor is wat wil deelneem, gaan ek nog verdere bydraes toelaat. Die persoon net hier in die middel van die saal.
Baie dankie. My naam is Martin Oosthuizen. My name is Martin Oosthuizen. Stellenbosch University, if you know our higher education sector, is one of the best managed universities in this country. Take careful note of that. Stellenbosch Universiteit, en ek ken hoër onderwys. Ek is nou vir 42 jaar in hoër onderwys en ek kyk na die inligting oor hoër onderwys. Hierdie universiteit is finansiëel die gesondste universiteit in die land wat die meeste derde stroom inkomste genereer van alle universiteite. Hierdie universiteit is onder die bestuur van hierdie rektor besig om van stap tot stap te gaan in stappe van uitnemendheid. Hierdie rektor is 'n persoon wat hierdie universiteit lei na internasionale statuur. Hy bou op die tradisie wat geskep is deur sy voorgangers, wat uitnemendheid bevorder het.
Ja, is 'n punt van
What
orde
we're
hier in die
talk-
tweede, net 'n oomblik
Ja,
asseblief.
what we're talking-
Net 'n oomblik.
What we're talking about tonight
Hou by die punt asseblief.
is not nepotism, it's not language. We're talking about a point of order, as Christo Wiese has said. This is about, does the executive committee of the Convocation have the mandate to unilaterally, without consultation, in a disrespectful manner, insist on the resignation of the rector of the university and ask council, if the rector does not resign, to take this matter forward. I have full confidence that the appropriately appointed statutory bodies of this university are doing their job. I have full confidence that they will do their job to thoroughly investigate any issues of improper conduct and to act appropriately. But it is not the mandate of the Executive Committee of Convocation to pursue a personal vendetta against the rector of this university. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is daar enige verdere bydraes? Die dame hier in die eerste ry en dan 2 rye agter haar. And after that the gentleman right in front.
Goeienaand dames en here. Ek is Esther Singels. Ek dien op die uitvoerende komitee van die Konvokasie. En ons het hierdie besluit nie ligtelik oorweeg nie. En ons het 'n hele tydjie daarin spandeer om te debatteer oor wat die bewoording van hierdie versoek van die uitvoerende komitee van die Konvokasie moet wees. Dit was nie 'n konvokasiebesluit wat ons uitgestuur het nie, dit was 'n uitvoerende komitee besluit. En ek dink ons was binne magte om te doen. Ek wil die rektor en die registrateur verantwoordelik hou vir swak bestuursbesluite wat die universiteit herhaaldelik in 'n negatiewe lig stel. Ons sien dit gereeld in die koerante dat daar iets van die universiteit is wat negatief is en ek hou nie daarvan om dit te sien in die nuus nie. Dit is nie nodig dat die universiteit in 'n negatiewe lig gestel hoef te word nie. Selfs al debatteer ons oor taalbeleide, dit is nie nodig vir die universiteit om oor sake soos nepotisme en menseregte skendings in die media te wees nie. So daarom het ons hierdie versoek uitgestuur. Kies jy moet harder praat, ek kan nie hoor nie. Ons moet die universiteit adviseer oor aangeleenthede wat vir die konvokasie belangrik is. Die bestuur is demokraties verkies en moet tussen vergaderings ook standpunte kan inneem, soos enige normale bestuur. Ek is nie net verkies om eenmaal 'n jaar blomme te oorhandig aan 'n gewaardeerde lid van die gemeenskap nie, en of om 'n gesiggie op 'n plakkaat te wees om te sê ons voldoen in universiteit se bestuurs-female quotas of iets nie. Ons kan besluite neem, en ons het dit gedoen, en ons het gedink dit is in die belang van die universiteit, om die universiteit se bestuur aanspreeklik te hou. Julle kan nou sê wat julle wil in terme van of dit die statuut dit toelaat of nie. Volgens ons doen dit. Dit is die debat, die punt wat vanaand hier gemaak word. Dit is goed dat hier so vanaand so baie mense is. Want in vorige geleenthede, as ons die universiteitsbestuur versoek om jaarvergaderings te kommunikeer, dan word dit net per e-pos gedoen en nadat ons meerdere kere moet versoek, dan word dit eers in die koerante gepubliseer. Ons kon nie koormaal vir verskeie jare nie, want dit word nie gepubliseer nie. Dalk het daar 'n e-pos glitch deurgegaan en dan kry die mense nie kennis nie, of die mense is maar net meestal apaties. En soos julle almal weet, dit is nou maar meestal die geval van dat die mense apaties is, maar dankie dat die mense vanaand hier is. So nie net vir ons nie. As julle vir ons wil verantwoordelik hou en julle glo dit is die regte proses, doen dit.
Ek sien ja.
Hou die bestuur ook verantwoordelik. Okay? Right.
Okay. The gentleman here in front with the blue jeans.
So sorry, I was given a
And then
microphone earlier
behind there.
to ask.
Yes?
Okay, sorry, I was given a microphone
Please
earlier
go
by
ahead.
one of the people handing out the microphone.
Yes. I'm getting to the next speaker. Please make your point.
Thank you, Chairperson of the session. My name is Lwazi Phakade. I'm a member of the Stellenbosch University Convocation, former resident at my Yuba residence, former member of the Studentenrat of the university, former member of Senate as well. I want to take this opportunity and agree first with one of the previous speakers, Christo Wise, on one particular question, that this meeting today is not here to discuss any other thing, but whether or not did the Convocation executive act in bad faith by not consulting the Convocation with taking their decision. It's the only reason why we're here today. We're not going to argue on basis of whether or not this Convocation led by Advocate Jan Hennis next to me has been doing a witch hunt on the Vice Chancellor. We know that there's been a witch hunt against the Vice Chancellor way before the allegations of nepotism. It is not the reason why we're here today, but it is to emphasize and to correct the current executive of Convocation that they acted in bad faith. They've been acting in bad faith by taking decisions about us, but without us. That is the only reason why we are here today. I want to then urge, allow me to indulge you, sir. But Chairperson, this is your meeting, I'll respect it. The reason why we're here today is to say that we cannot allow this university to be dragged into a situation whereby it is one of the lowest performing universities in the world. Over the past few years, we've seen that Stellenbosch, in the ranks of universities in the world, has been ranked as one of the top performing universities. What we're trying to do now and what the executive is trying to do now is to try and drag this university's name through the mud. And that cannot be allowed. The convocation's responsibility is derived from members of the convocation. Everyone who's a graduate of this institution, the permanent staff, members of this institution, and former professors of this university. So it cannot be correct that we can allow the existing structure of convocation to behave in this manner that they've been behaving. Therefore, I want to take this opportunity, Chairperson, through you, to urge each and everyone who is a member of this convocation of this university to take a stance against this convocation executive that is still led by Advocate Jan Hienas next to me, to vote against them, to show them that we have a responsibility and we have an interest to make this university a world-class performing institution whereby the children of the farm worker and the farm owner can coexist in Mayuba residence. Whereby the child of Christo Wise, as the owner of ShopRite, can coexist with the cleaner, with the child of the cleaner at ShopRite stores. That is the future of South Africa that we want. That is the future of the world that we want. On those words.
May I ask you to wind up the point that you're making,
Yes. Thank you, Chairperson. I respect you. I respect this convocation, and I trust that you will vote against motion. Thank you.
The gentleman in the third row, and then there's one here in the second row, and after that I'll allow two more. One there. Have you got the microphone, sir?
Voorzitter, edele baie dankie. Ek wil net graag, my naam is Elben, ek wil net graag 3 vinnige dingetjies noem. 1, dit is klaar genoem, maar advokaat Jennis het homself hier probeer verf as iemand wat niemand sover my kennis trek, nadat ek die afgelope 3-4 weke op die groep is, van Dr. Van Ryn, het ek nog nooit iemand gehoor om te sê hy's 'n rasis of enige iets daarvan. So om daai tipe van, wat sê mens, daai uitlating te maak en dan 'n hele tyd te spandeer daaraan om homself te regverdig, dit klink asof hy 'n pop, een of ander pop opstel en nou skiet hy die pop af. So dit is heeltemal onaanvaarbaar. Tweedens, ek wil graag, daar was 'n dame daar agter, ek dink haar naam was Karin of iemand, sy het 'n baie belangrike vraag gevra. Daai vraag was, dat sy wil graag weet, kan die universiteit 'n konvokasie besluit, 'n soort van stop, of moet sy nie stop nie, maar dit veto om dit uit te gaan na die konvokasie toe. Hier is die regte antwoord. Dit vat die universiteit, en advokaat Jan Jennis is nou bewus ook daarvan, met die hele prosedure, dit vat die universiteit rofweg 3 dae, om al die dokumentasie, om al die tegniese detail daar te kry, voordat enige ding kan uitgaan na die konvokasie toe. Om op 'n Vrydagmiddag die 14de 'n besluit te neem, en agterna dan te kom eis, dat hulle was verbied gewees, is doodgewoon bog. Want Jan Jennis weet hoe werk dit, dis al bykans sy tweede termyn wat voltooi is. Dis punt nommer 1. Punt nommer 2, of tenminste die deel daarvan, die tweede punt, se B-deel, dat advokaat Jennis het meer as 10 dae gehad vanaf die nepotisme kwessie gebreek het, om dinge te reël deur die konvokasie. Om dus nou hier op die einde te kom sê, hulle het nie tyd gehad nie, of die universiteit het geveto, is doodeenvoudig net nonsens. Punt nommer 3. Wacht net gou oomlikie gou Nee.
Miskien is het punt nommer 3 die een dat ons moet oorgaan na stemming.
Punt nommer 3 gaan doodeenvoudig oor die storieetjie van dat ons as 'n konvokasie moet ingelig word, want ons moet 'n onderskeid maak. 'n Dagbestuur het sekere take. En daai take verskil, is dit ernstige take of is dit gewone take? Byvoorbeeld, hulle het 'n mandaat gekry om sekere take te doen. Byvoorbeeld, toe daar nou 'n enkele maande terug die daai nuwe navorsingsinstituut biomediese ingestel is, of dan geopen is, ek was daar die Saterdag met die opening waar die ouers en mense kon kyk. Toe kon hulle byvoorbeeld op hulle eie sê, namens die konvokasie kan hulle die universiteit daarmee gelukwens. Dit's nie gedoen nie. So dit beteken hierso is bad faith of bad blood. Om dan aan te dring wanneer dit by 'n ernstige saak kom, wat buitekant die mandaat van die konvokasie is om te eis dat mense moet bedank by die universiteit, dit is glad nie ons konvokasie se mandaat nie. Wat wel die uitvoerende kommunikasie wel kan doen is, dat hulle kan, en hy kon dit al baie lank uitgesorteer het, want hy is al 2 termyne daar. Hy kon uitgesorteer het hoe ons met die konvokasie kan beginne kommunikeer deur tyd te gebruik. 3 dae minimum om daai ding uit te stuur. So hulle het meer as 10 dae gehad in hierdie ernstige aanklag. So hulle kon al lankal sekere dinge deurstuur. Dit sluit ook Dr. Schreiber in met sy onsinnige eis en kinderagtige eis van bedankings, dat 'n mens kan eenvoudig deur die kommunikasie te master, ek is nie jammer dat ek nou my taal meng, maar om dit op te roep, kon daar al lankal met ons gekommunikeer geword en sê, wat dink julle? Sodat as hulle dan nou 'n paar duisend mense kan kry. En onthou, dit is nie as jy teen Jan Hene se optrede is, dat jy outomaties, nou is jy anti-Afrikaans en anti-nepotisme. Dis die grootste klomp nonsens daai. Dit gaan hier oor 'n beginsel, die beginsel gaan oor wat die kommunikasie se taak is, en dat ons moet georganiseer word. Hulle het dit nie gedoen nie. Baie dankie.
Dankie. There was a hand up here in the second row.
Hello, Chair. Chair, please,
Yes.
can I quickly ask for something? I'm Dr. Babala, and I have my kids in the car, and they actually, this is past their bedtime. A lot of people have talked about the same thing. I'm speaking in African, I don't understand, I don't speak African, I'm international, and no one has respected that. Please, can we discuss this? Tell us what to do and let me go, please. Please.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll have
me.
2 more contributions.
Hello. Hi. Sorry.
There's one at the back.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Claire Rankin. I am a young alumni of this university. I'm still a postgraduate law student here. And I recognize that I'm still a student. I have a lot to learn about how the law works. But I know enough to be able to make 2 observations in support of the first motion. The first is that the executive of the Convocation is a body that was created in terms of the university statutes. This means that it cannot lawfully take action in the name of the Convocation in a manner that fails to comply with the statute's procedures. That is fundamentally what they have done, and is what the first motion is trying to seek accountability from them. It's very important to understand that. It has nothing to do with personal attacks. But the second thing as well, I suppose anyone who studies the law knows that failure to comply with procedural requirements really is the end of anything. You have to consider it contextually. Let's do that, because the consultative procedures that were bypassed here mean something for how the Convocation executive functions, and mean something for how they can accurately represent the Convocation. Why do I say that? Quite simply, 2 factual statements. This university has gone from being, factually speaking, a university that played a very strong role in creating apartheid. As a question of fact, that is true. But it has gone from that to being a university that up until this year was one of the few few universities in this country that failed to raise tuition fees above the nationally recommended increase, and as a result of that, has been one of the most affordable tertiary education options in South Africa. That alone tells you that the student body of this university has changed drastically across this 100 and something years that this university has been in existence. The consultative requirements for the Convocation executive are fundamental if they are going to represent what has become a very broad and a very diverse convocation body. The failure of the executive to have consulted means that they cannot in any meaningful way construe to act on behalf of this body whatsoever. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to inquire. I'm going to have one more speaker, and then I'm going to inquire whether there are any further contributions from our members who are online, and after that we'll go over to voting. You have the floor, sir.
Agbare, kan julle my hoor? Voorsitter, ek het nou baie geluister na al die mense hierso. En dit is 'n ou strategie. Ek ken vir vir advokaat Jan Enes baie lank. Ek het saam met hom op die Konvokasieraad gedien. Ek dien saam met hom op die raad van die Universiteit van Stellenbosch. Hy is 'n man van onkreukbare karakter. Ongeag die feit hier mense is wat hom probeer afmaak as iemand wat nie reg opgetree het nie. Maar dit is baie eenvoudig vanaand. Wat is die strategie? Die strategie is, soos hulle in Engels sê, if you want to kill the message, kill the messenger. So, wat is die strategie hier? Maak die boodskapper dood. En wat is die boodskap? Die boodskap is dat die Konvokasieraad het 'n besluit geneem dat die optrede van professor Wim de Villiers was verkeerd. Dit het 'n verkeerde sein uitgestuur na die wêreld en dit moes reggestel word. Maar nou tipies volgens die reg, almal staan op die tegniese regspunte. Maar wat vir my uiters ontstellend is, dat niemand het iets gesê oor die verkeerde optrede van die rektor nie. Goed, ek gaan nie meer lank wees nie. Die vraag is dus, ek het ook 'n artikel in die Burger geskryf, en advokaat Jan Enes, ekskuus as julle praat ek nie. Dis ongewoon, dit is onmanierlik. Asseblief. Ek het die vraag gevra, watter idee verkoop Universiteit van Stellenbosch? Gaan nepotisme nou die norm word? Ja of nee? En ek weet waaroor die stemming gaan. Maar ek wil net dit vir julle sê, dit is vir my geweldig ontstellend, dat mense debatteer oor regstegniese punte, terwyl die opsigtelike verkeerde reg voor hulle oë plaasvind, en hulle ignoreer dit. Baie dankie.
Are there any further contributions from members attending online?
Thank you, Chair. So there's two comments on my side. The first one comes from Anonymous, Will, and it's addressed to the Chair of the Convocation. And it reads as follows: Will the President hold his hand and be accountable? Will he take accountability for undermining the Convocation? The numerous distinguished alumni who the Executive Committee have dismissed by not following due process. Should the Executive Committee not be apologizing and taking accountability prior to requesting support from the same Convocation? The second comment, I would like to point out that at the Convocation meeting on 10 November 2022, the President, Dr. Hennis, did not allow anybody to speak. It was completely undemocratic. He shut down all debate over the Kampepe report. He was the only one that was allowed to express his views.
Thank you.
And,
Ladies and gentlemen, I will now
Mr. Chair?
Sorry.
Two more comments or questions, specific questions from online. Kan die mense wat beweer dat die uitvoerende raad onreëlmatig opgetree het in terme van die statute asseblief meer spesifiek wees oor watter artikels van die statute oortree is? And just another comment, has the university the ability to vet and pre-approve communication to the convocation, and if so, why is there this sanction and oversight?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Who's speaking? I will now allow the proposer or the seconder to have 5 minutes in which to reply to the debate before going to before we go over to voting.
Mr. Chair, if you may allow me.
Does the proposer or the seconder wish to reply?
Mr. Chair, if you may allow me. Right here, to the back.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm Dr. Steve Binza.
Sorry, I'm not allowing further contributions from the floor. Discussion has now been closed, and it's for the proposer or the seconder to reply within less than 5 minutes.
So I'm asking Professor Maranzella to speak on our behalf. She's going to speak in 2 minutes.
No.
Thank you.
No, no, sorry, the ruling was that the proposer or the seconder will have 5 minutes to reply to the debate. No one else, no further contributions from the floor.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. I'm not...
Please, I do not recognize you at this stage, Professor. Please hand the microphone to the proposer.
So Professor Maranzella is one of the 247 people who signed the motion.
No.
So she is a seconder.
I was referring to the proposer and the seconder of the motion who spoke here to introduce the motion.
Thank
so
you.
It's either yourself
So-
or your seconder
Okay.
who will have a right of reply in less than 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I will reply very quickly. Thank you very much for showing the world tonight that Stellenbosch University is a place where all voices are welcome, and we are committed to a convocation where our voices will be heard. So Professor Hennis, Advocate Hennis has made it very clear that he's not interested in our voices. We want an executive who wants to hear from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. That concludes the discussion and the debate from the floor. We will now go over to voting, and you have each received a bunch of ballot papers. The one to be used for this motion is the top one, the green one, and you are required to indicate whether you are for the motion, against the motion, or whether you want to abstain from voting. U het 'n keuse om of te stem vir die mosie, teen die mosie, of buitestemming te bly. Indien nie een van daardie keuses uitoefen nie, sal die stembriefie geag word bederf te wees en sal geïgnoreer word. U kan nou die keuses maak en daar sal persone wees wat die stembriefies by u sal kollekteer. Nie so nie kan u dit by in die stembus plaas wat daar by die deur is. Dames en heren, kan ons weer ons sitplekke inneem? Can we take our seats again for the second motion, please? Dames en heren, ek gaan nou die tweede motie vir u voorlees, voordat ons dan vir die voorsteller vra om die motie in te dien. Kan ons orde kry asseblief? Dames en heren, ek lees die tweede motie. Dis 'n motie van wantroue in die visiepresident van die Konvokasie. Dis voorgestel deur meneer D.G. Ras en gesekondeer deur 'n groot aantal sekondante. Dit lees soos volg: Nademaal daar aangevoer word dat 1. Dr. Rudy Buys, visiepresident van die Konvokasie, die besluit van die uitvoerende komitee van die Konvokasie van 14 April 2023 ondersteun het, in welke besluit die IK onder meer direkteur versoek het om sy bedanking in te dien en by versuim daarvan die IK die raad van die IS versoek het om ondersoek in te stel ten aansien van die aantuigings van nepotisme teen die rektor. 2. Dr. Buys na afloop van sy betrokkenheid by die voormelde eenparige besluit van die IK homself ooglopend in die media van die gemelde besluit gedistansieer het. 3. Dr. Buys daarna openlik 'n veldtog teen sy mede-IK-lede begin dryf het, waardeur hy verdeeldheid in die geleedere van die Konvokasie gesaai het en die beeld van die IS skade berokken het. 4. Hy openlik assosieer met 'n groepering binne die Konvokasie, waar die president van die Konvokasie en die ander lede van die uitvoerende komitee met uitsluiting van Dr. Buys uit hul ampt wil verwyder, welke groepering ook die president en ander lede van die IK en lede van die Konvokasie en raad van die IS beswadder. 5. Hy homself sodanig openlik skaar by die groepering waarna hy bo verwys word, in eie belang of slegs in belang van die gemelde groepering, dat hy 'n onherstelbare vertrouensbreuk binne die IK van die Konvokasie veroorsaak het. Nou derhalwe besluit die Konvokasie dat 6. Geen verdere vertroue in Dr. Buys as die visiepresident van die Konvokasie het nie. 7. Hy het derhalwe sy ampt moet ontruim. 8. 'n nuwe visiepresident van die Konvokasie so gou doenlik in sy plek verkies en aangestel moet word. Ek vra nou vir meneer Ras om die mosie te kom voorstel. Meneer Ras?
Is dit u foon? Ek vra, is dit u foon? Chairperson, members of the Convocation, this is my first ever attendance of a Convocation meeting, and I must say I find it most interesting. I spent my entire career in local government, and I have seen the worst and was on the receiving end of the worst of institutional politics, but I could never have imagined that university politics is of this extent and nature. My surname is ras. En laat ek nou vir u sê, ras is die probleem in hierdie land. Want alles gaan oor ras. So as daar iets in die koerante verskyn, dan sê ek vir my vrou, ek krimp al mekaar, want ek word vir alles wat verkeerd gaan, word ek blameer. En dit is tog wat ook maar inderwaarheid vanaand hier gebeur, dat hier 'n fyn onderliggende rassekonnotasie is aan wat hom afspeel hierso. Vergun my ook die geleentheid om, want dit sal waarskynlik my laaste geleentheid wees. Ek glo nie ek sal ooit weer gevra word om iets voor 'n konvokasie te sê nie. So laat ek net erkenning gee aan die mense wat iets aan my lewe gedoen het, beteken het Graham Lawrence wat vir my in Khayelitsha aangestel het as die stadssekretaris, hy en sy raad destyds. Maar ek is aan die woord, hou nou jou mond met respek. Jy het baie geraas daar agter. Met respek. Erwin Swela wat vir my aangemoedig het om verder te leer en my wêreldbeskouing uit te brei. Ek moet erkenning aan hulle gee.
Wil u 'n punt van orde maak? Wat is uw punt? Ja, die voorsteller het 'n mate van vryheid om sy mening oor te dra op die wyse wat hy goed dink.
Ja.
Met sy by sy tydbeperking hou waartoe ek sal toesien, kan hy voortgaan na goeddinke vir wat ook al sy mosie mag bevorder.
Dankie voorsitter.
Soos jy wil, edelagbare.
Peace be with you. Thank you. Chairperson, I've listened attentively, and let me also declare my interest here, because that's important. Besides that, I've never attended any convocation meeting prior to this. I didn't even meet Jan Jennis or any of these others. I met them here tonight as I walked in. So I have no relationship with anybody. The only person that I really knew was Dr. Piet Klaasen, and sitting once in your court, which I'll elaborate about now. Die onverkooklikheid wat ek hier optel, ja, aan die een kant gaan dit oor prosedure, maar dis 'n onverkooklikheid wat 'n ander oorsaak het. En ek het so geluister na die jong mense wat hier praat oor die reg, en niemand wil die naam daarvan sê nie, die Nemo Edex reël wat verkrag is nie. Ek haal die agbare Madonsela aan, wat op 16 Julie 2021 in Sustaining SA Moral Fiber, the Madiba Way, that institutions are run by people susceptible to human failures, which may cause ethical lapses. Madonsela. En dan sê sy, the Madiba way is to act swiftly, so that no impunity is the result of those ethical lapses. Nie ek nie, die agbare. Ek moet sê, Stellenbosch het vinnig gereageer toe Yuri Roux 'n etiese glips gehad het. If we just adhere, all of us who exercise administrative functions in institutions, as was held in the Sarfu case, where Mandela was humiliated by the court, that all administrative actions form part of the prejudice and bias rule. Hier sit 'n regter. Kan ek so 'n bietjie spog? Ek word binnekort 70 en ek het pas my LLB ook klaar gemaak by 'n institusie wat regtig down the tubes gaan. Soos ons hierdie onverkooklikheid net hanteer het, en hoe kon ons dit hanteer? Deur hierdie uitvoerende komitee, wat in alle geval geen bevoegdheid het nie. It was overemphasized. They don't have, the EXCO doesn't have any authority other than to advise. So we could have dealt with this unsavory situation relatively quickly by letting this convocation be informed of the EXCO, which would have been a draft resolution, because they don't have authority. They can't make decisions, but it's been called decisions here. But in law, it's nothing more than a draft until it's ratified by the convocation. So the question is, why did the alumni office, which is also playing its politics like I'm playing my politics there from Gansbaai, why did they not afford this opportunity for this draft motion to be tested by the convocation itself? That is a question that is unanswered. It could have, had the channel been opened and the convocation expressed itself in the negative, the EXCO would have had to do the honorable thing and resign. Now we sit with a situation where we're dealing with a motion for 4 people to be deposed, or 3 people to be deposed from the EXCO, and 1 remaining. Now, isn't that a strange situation? What is behind that? And the question was raised earlier. What is the strategy? We heard from Louise van Rijn, whom I know from my Vriendal days, and a husband who was the external auditor of the municipality at that time. So we come a long way, although we don't really know each other. What is the game plan? Because you see, in this country, and let me now talk from the numerous days I had to listen to the nonsense of politicians in council chambers speaking over and over, repeating themselves like I've heard tonight, people repeating themselves. What is meant by this transformation? What is the end goal? Because what has happened the past 29 years, and now I'm speaking from the position of having been inside the ANC. Yes, I was in fact, in 2002, I was a voting delegate here at Stellenbosch, for those who have a good long-term memory. In fact, my photo was in the report. But I've seen the light, like many others, that know that this country is heading towards a failed state. Now, is this overlooking of the Nemo Edex rule, handling it with soft gloves, is that not the start of the decay? My information is, and I have it on record, and I made sure, and that's the only consultation I got, and I got it late yesterday afternoon, and I have it in writing, that Dr. Buys, in fact, at the time of the meeting, agreed with the amended resolution that was taken by this EXCO to be put to the convocation. In fact, it was on his insistence, and here it's signed by the 4, even the resigned member, confirming this. So I'm concluding by saying, please vote for the truth. Thank you, sir.
Baie dankie meneer Ras. Is daar 'n sekondant wat ook wil praat op hierdie stadium voordat ek dit oopstel vir die vloer? Goed. Ek nooi enige bespreking van die vloer af uit. Yes, sir.
The accused has a right to respond the same as the president.
Who has a right to reply?
The vice president.
the Vice President. He certainly has a right to reply. If he puts up his hand, I will recognize him. Yes. What is the point that you're making?
Chairperson, my point is that, as I understand the procedure, the people were mentioned in motion 1, they were given a chance at 10 minutes to respond.
Yes.
We are now dealing with motion 2.
Absolutely.
Therefore, the Vice President should also be given an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Not from the floor, Chairperson,
Okay.
from the podium.
He has the right, as Advocate Hienes had, which he exercised. So, Dr. Buys, you have 10 minutes.
Good evening, colleagues. Can I just check, is the translation services working? Everything's fine, and online as well. Everyone's able to join. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of the argument. 60 years after Dr. Martin Luther King declared this dream in 1963, it is a dream that still holds for us as South Africans. At a time when our nation faces an increasing barrage of dreadful challenges, most glaringly one of leadership, this dream is real for us, not only in a general sense, but also one of particular importance for our discussion here. As 'n pa van 2 kinders, wie deel uitmaak van die toekoms van ons land en ook van ons universiteit, is die droom werklik vir ons gesin, net soos vir ons gemeenskap. Ja, daarom selfs meer as 'n droom, verteenwoordig die woorde 'n gebed. 'n Gebed dat my en jou kinders in 'n land kan leef waar hulle nie aan die hand van hulle velkleur nie en alles wat dit weens ons geskiedenis verteenwoordig geken en beoordeel sal word nie, maar volgens die inhoud van hulle karakter, die inhoud van hulle argument en die inhoud van hulle bydra tot 'n hoopvolle toekoms vir ons land en al sy mense. Soos dit was vir my grootouers, oupas en oumas, my ouers, my uitgebreide familie en ook vriende, sal my kinders ook by ons universiteit kom studeer. Om presies hierdie toekoms 'n werklikheid te help maak. For that reason, this prayer is one also for our university and the generations of South Africans who here together with diverse peers must become more human and learn to change the world. For such a university to exist, Dr. King's prayer for character, content to be our guide, must also hold for this community of Marties, the Convocation, and for its contribution to build such a future at a university that serves all South Africans. Geagte voorsitter, president en lede van die Konvokasie. Hoe weet mens wanneer die tyd ryp is vir 'n indringende gesprek onder al die lede van 'n vereniging oor die stand van sake? 'n Gesprek nie oor wat by universiteit aangaan nie, maar oor hoe 'n vereniging sy sake inrig om uitvoering te gee aan dit wat sy lede saam wil vermag. When is the right time to again consider the values that draw the members of an association together, and then hold them up as a mirror to look at ourselves and see if we are still who and what we set out to be, to do and become? This is what is at stake. The values we are committed to and the ways to which we agree to enact our commitments as a convocation together. Excellence, compassion, equity, respect, accountability. these are the values of the university community at large, and therefore also of the Convocation as the largest association of students and staff of this Stellenbosch University, and as is now commonly known, an association of more than 230,000 people. Ours is an association of remarkable people who are associated with a remarkable university. We have made significant contributions to South Africa and beyond. You continue to do so, especially as successive members join our ranks year on year. It is that must be held in high regard. A convocation, a structure known for its stature as a brain trust to achieve excellence and integrity, and respected for its commitments to inclusivity and leadership. Om so na die konvokasie te kyk, beteken noodwendig dat u en ek die konvokasie met die grootste agting en waardering moet aansien en uitbou. So is dit sekerlik vir elkeen van ons wat vanaand hier teenwoordig is, vir u en vir my. Presies om daardie rede ag ek die tyd ryp om na binne te kyk en mekaar af te vra of ons aan ons waardes getrou bly, maar nie net as iets wat ons in die onmiddellike omstandighede moet doen nie, maar wat ons voortdurend en sonder ophou behoort te doen. Voorsitters en lede, kollegas, so gesprek kan en mag nooit uitgestel word nie, maar moet onmiddellik met waagmoed en in die oopte aangepak word. 'n Uitnemende konvokasie en u as sy lede vra vir niks minder as dit nie. Toegegee om in die spieël te kyk is nooit 'n maklike onderneming nie, maar 'n komplekse een waar misverstande maklik die boottoon voer. For me, our values are best represented when we view the convocation as a community of bridge builders, a community that builds bridges between its members and the university in service of good governance and sound decision-making, bridges between diverse groups that make up its membership so as to transcend our divided past and build a future of togetherness, and one that builds bridges in a vast landscape of differing interests, concerns, and perspectives that diverse members together represent. Bridges in this context is about inclusivity. An inclusive convocation is one that finds ways to see and hear more of different faces and voices of its members. It is an association of thought leaders who through continued and inclusive dialogue consider challenges and find solutions in support of a remarkable future. An institution that with equity and compassion ensures a university where all South Africans, each and all unique, are welcomed and embraced as one of its own. Such a convocation is one where deliberative democracy takes precedence and cooperative governance is sought above all. Where are we, Chairperson, in terms of time? Om die konvokasie te help om dit te bereik, is hoe ek die opdrag wat u aan ons as verkose verteenwoordigers gee verstaan, om 'n uitsonderlike vereniging van diverse en uitnemende lede daarin te begelei om 'n gemeenskap van brugbouers te wees en te word. Dit is egter my oorwoë mening dat hoe ons as konvokasie en as verteenwoordigers tans ons sake reël, nie daarin slaag om u as lede sowel ons as verteenwoordigers in staat te stel om die droom waar te maak en 'n sterk stem te wees ten bate van die universiteit nie. This chairperson, Mr. Russ and colleagues, is the context for how I have since my election responded to the demands of groups of members of the convocation for more consultation. I believe that as a convocation, we are facing a historic moment of self-reflection. This is the moment to frankly and truthfully look in the mirror to resolve long-running divisions in our ranks and find a way back to togetherness. Allow me, therefore, to briefly respond to the claims against me. As far as the motion of the Executive Committee for the Rector and Registrar to resign, please note that as I have repeatedly declared in the public and the media, I consider myself bound to majority decisions of meetings. This... Yeah, Chair, I have 3 items that respond specifically to the claims. And in the same fashion that you have allowed for interruptions in the previous rebuttal, I'm asking for the same. I'll be quick. I'll read quickly. I consider myself bound to the majority decision. This, however, does not mean that decisions are taken by full consensus, which also was the case here. As I have repeatedly indicated, I was the only member of the meeting who argued against the motion. We did not vote, but only debated the matter earnestly, during which discussion I was unable to convince my respected colleagues. I remain bound to the majority decision of the meeting, but this commitment does not make the decision one of consensus, eenparig, which would imply that I, in actual fact, had changed my position on the motion. As far as the other claims that I have orchestrated, I'm almost done, Chairperson, a campaign to embarrass my respected colleagues on the executive and cause division among the members, allow me to answer as follows. I have openly declared since my election in October last year that I am committed to inclusivity in engaging the broad membership of the Convocation and have attempted in different ways to support members who reach out to me as Vice President. I reported to the executive at several instances in this regard, always discussing matters relating to lack of consultation between members, between us as elected representatives. Also, following the practice by the President and Secretary to discuss and express their views on matters relating to the Convocation in public and the media, I indeed submitted opinion papers to media and respond to media queries when approached. I followed, 3 more sentences, Chair. I followed what I came to know as the established way of engaging the broader membership of the Convocation in order to raise debate and facilitate discussion on key issues. That opinions and different campaigns developed as a result, therefore, is an expression of democratic process and in response to how all of us as executive has gone about engaging with the broader Convocation. My work was and remains an attempt to engaging our diverse members to give effect to a Convocation that consults with its members on key issues. Ek maak klaar. Ek ag dus wat tans uitspeel in ons Konvokasie 'n uitdrukking van beraadslagende demokrasie en 'n belangrike stap vorentoe om ons waardes van uitnemendheid, deernis, billikheid, respek en verantwoordbaarheid 'n werklikheid te maak. Ek wil graag bevestig dat ek slegs die hoogste agting het vir ons Konvokasie en daartoe verbind bly om die liggaam te bou as 'n gemeenskap van brugbouers. 'n Gemeenskap wat werk om 'n universiteit te bou waar die ryke verskeidenheid van wie ons as Suid-Afrikaners is, omarm word en ons doelbewus daarvoor werk om 'n inklusiewe gemeenskap te wees waar al ons kinders welkom is. A dream that need not remain one, but which may be realized much sooner than Dr. King's children to see his dream realized. Thank you.
Presies dieselfde. Jy het 13 minute gehad. Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open for any comments or contributions. Advocaat Jennis. Can somebody bring the microphone to Mr. Jennis, please?
Dames en heren.
Ons kan jou hoor.
Dames en here, ek het 'n memorandum wat geteken is deur al 4 die ander konvokasielede. Wat uiteensit wat gebeur het en hier is wat gebeur het tydens die aanvaarding van die besluit wat ten grondslag lê van die mosie van wantroue in Dr. Buys. Daar was 2 voorstelle, een deur die sekretaris en een deur Dr. Buys. Die sekretaris het gevra dat die rektor moet bedank. Syne het gevra dat die raad versoek moet word om die saak te ondersoek en gepaste optrede teen die rektor te neem. Daar was 'n debat daaroor en ons het uiteindelik konsensus bereik deur die 2 te amalgameer. En jy sal sien dat in die besluit wat uiteindelik aanvaar is, die 2de paragraaf verwoord wat Dr. Buys wou gehad het, die eerste een verwoord wat die sekretaris wou gehad het. So die eerste paragraaf vra dat die rektor moet bedank. By ontstentenis daarvan moet die raad gevra word om gepaste optrede teen Dr. Buys te neem. Dit was 'n eenparige beslissing van die raad en ek het toe almal bedank dat ons bereid was om eenparig of in staat was om tot by 'n eenparige beslissing te kom. Daarna het Dr. Buys gesê ons gaan hieruit soos een. Dit was 'n eenparige mosie en ek het kommunikasies gerig aan amptenare van die universiteit waarvan hy ook 'n ontvanger was waarin gesê word dat dit 'n eenparige besluit was en hy het nooit probeer voorgee dat dit nie was nie. Baie dankie.
Dankie meneer Ennis. The gentleman in front here with the jeans.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Lwazi Phakade. I won't be too long. Chair, I think what we can gather from what the President of Convocation has just said is indeed what the first motion was arguing, that there was no consultation with the Convocation on either any of the decisions. He is confirming here right in front of all of us as Convocation that as a small group, they decided and made a decision on our behalf. So I therefore just want to urge everyone quickly here to vote no against this motion. Thank you so much.
Any further comments or contributions? The gentleman here in the middle of the audience, just pass the microphone, please.
Voorzitter, goeienaand. My naam is Henny Oret. Ek is nie 'n regsgeleerde nie.
Bietjie harder asseblief.
Hallo. Kan jy hoor?
Hy is aan. Jy moet net 'n bietjie harder praat asseblief.
Ja. Okay, my naam is Henny Oret. Ek is nie 'n regsgeleerde nie. Ek is 'n doodgewone ou ingenieur wat sy graad so deur die sonnaarskool se agterdeur gekry het, maar is alright. Ek het net 'n paar dinge hier wat ek vanaand oplet hierso. Eerstens, al twee hierdie mosies dra eintlik niks by tot die werking van die konvokasie nie. Want daar gaan 'n paar mense wees wat wen, daar gaan 'n paar mense wees wat verloor en hulle gaan sê, "Bakgat, ons het nou gewen of ons het verloor," die ouens wat verloor. Maar die res van die konvokasie, die groot meerderheid van ons, gaan net verloorders wees. Daar's niks wenners hierso nie. Die konvokasie, ek sien 'n verskriklike klomp verneinigheid hierso vanaand ongelukkig. En dis totaal onnodig. En daar word gesê die konvokasie se eer en waardigheid en alles is deur albei partye aangeval. Dit word albei mosies sê dieselfde ding. Maar jy weet, hierdie geveg tussen die konvokasie, al wat dit doen is daai manne met die baie kameras en hulle gaan môre in die koerante skryf, hierdie konvokasie is so verdeel dat dit bars. Hierdie konvokasie kan nie met mekaar saamwerk nie. En dis al wat gaan gebeur. So die konvokasie gaan net slegter lyk as wat hy vroeër vanaand gelyk het. Maar die probleem is hierso dat ons gaan nêrens nader kom aan 'n oplossing van die probleem nie. Die konvokasie se geveggies wat ons hier het en watter skade dit nou ook aan die universiteit doen. Wil ek vir u sê vanaand, ek beweeg tussen baie konvokasielede, ek speel saam met hulle golf, gesels met hulle en so aan. Die bietjie slegte publisiteit oor die verdeeldheid van die konvokasie en verkeerde optrede deur die konvokasie is nie 'n patch teen die negatiewe publisiteit wat die universiteit gekry het die dag toe daai berig in die rapport verskyn het nie. So ek dink die konvokasie moet ophou om mekaar te baklei en ek het teen die vorige mosie gestem en gaan teen hierdie mosie ook stem, want hulle dra nie by tot die oplossing van die probleem nie. The elephant in the room is still there. En as ons nie daai probleem oplos nie, gaan ons nêrens heen nie. So ek dink hierdie twee partye moet nou ophou met mekaar baklei en moet om 'n tafel gaan sit en uitsort wat gaan ons doen omtrent daai skade wat gedoen is toe die berig in die rapport verskyn het dat die rektor het sy voorregte of sy regte misbruik om sy familielid te bevoordeel. Dit help nie ons baklei hieroor wie het reg gedoen en wie het verkeerd gedoen nie. Albei hierdie partye is in 'n ding ingesleep waaroor hulle nooit sou wou praat nie. Want niemand het gedink dat iemand soos die rektor sy hand op papier gaan sit en 'n familielid bevoordeel nie. So hierdie hele geveg het ontstaan as gevolg van iets buite hierdie konvokasie en nou baklei ons met mekaar in plaas om die probleme op te los. Dankie voorsitter.
Dankie. There are two ladies with their hands up here, and then there's a gentleman in the third row there.
Okay, there we go. Again, good evening, everyone. My name is still Lune Wilkinson. So I would just like to respond to the person who put the motion forward based on his question regarding what is the goal of transformation. So as a recently retired student leader, I would like to point out that there are a few people who have joined us today who can, with honest and open experience, say what the repercussions have been of the convocation and the people associated. I refer specifically to Leon Schreiber. What the implications have been to our students on the ground. What the current, as the previous speaker said, social media onslaught has brought to students. We have seen what it has been like for student leaders and House Committee members who are trying to create inclusive environments only to be pulled apart in the newspapers for things that are not problematic. We are not addressing the right things. We are causing a spotlight to be focused on a lot of things that are not bothering students who are currently studying. And we have to deal, I personally have had to deal with House Committee members who have cried because they are scared that they will not be employed one day because they merely asked to speak English in an environment where everyone could communicate. That is something completely different. So what I'm trying to say is that your agendas that you have been enforcing on in the convocation has problematic repercussions to current students who are studying. Everyone sitting here, have graduated. There is time for us to understand and to advise, but to stop implicating. So I ask you when you vote tonight, don't vote based on what your opportunity was at university. Don't vote for what you would like the university to look like. Vote for what is best and beneficial to the current students who are studying. And the people that are currently in charge are not going to push that agenda. They are never going to prioritize those students. They're going to continue their onslaught on social media because that is how they get votes. So thank you. When you vote, just think of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. And I am still Claire Ankin as well. And I'd just like to say that there is absolutely nothing wrong in truth with this convocation causing newspapers to report on the fact that the executive committee has failed in their mandate, because that is what accountability is about. When people have made mistakes, there is nothing wrong with making that something that is publicly known. That is what accountability requires of us. But more so, if we want the convocation through its executive to be able to address so-called elephants in the room, and I'd like to just note that for a lot of members in this convocation, those elephants are very different things, why we need to have consultative leadership. It's essential that the right processes are followed, because if the wrong processes are followed, if the convocation tries to one day go and hold the rector accountable, if they don't do it correctly, it's not going to stand, it's not going to hold. So we need to make sure that they are following correct procedures.
Thank you. The gentleman there in the third row. The gentleman with his hand up in the third row. Please pass the microphone to him.
But you noted me, my hand was up. I know it should be okay.
I recognize the gentleman before this,
Before me.
the one in the front row. He will get his turn.
Thanks.
Ja, meneer.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Philip de Jager, and ek kan Afrikaans met julle praat, maar ek gaan nie nou Afrikaans praat nie. 2 points I want to make. The first point is, with the release of the motion via email, I just want to say I found it not to my satisfaction that the second motion was only available in Afrikaans. Not that I'm against the language, but I'm just thinking in terms of members that's not necessarily got Afrikaans as first language. Second point I want to make, and now I'm speaking as somebody with degrees from 4 South African universities. 3 of those universities have currently got governance issues. And I think related to that is just when we think about what is taking place here, is it an issue of governance in the convocation, or is it an issue of governance at the university level? As somebody who wants my degree to be valuable or seen as valuable by the general public, I would like my convocation to hold the university to account when necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman in front with a striped shirt.
Thank you so much, sir. I just want to echo the same sentiments the latter speaker have echoed. I mean, with the 4 degrees that I have also, 3 from other universities, I'm even ashamed to put them on my CV. But I chose to be active with the Stellenbosch convocation. I voted consequently for the first motion because I understood the importance of accountability. We are now in a country where no one wants to take accountability. All of us were affected by load shedding. No one comes back to us and tell us what is happening with the ESCOM issue. No one comes back after we voted them and tell us what is it that we want, what is it that they're going to deliver to us. We vote people to position. Once they get this position, they become pompous. They want to justify their action. And the justification of those actions that they're doing, the wrong actions that they are doing, they want to win the sympathy of the people. Unfortunately, the youth of today is that one that cannot just be bamboozled. The youth of today have means to think. The youth of today do not care whether your father was what, your mother was what. They care about the future. I want each one of you to sit down, think back, and think forward of what you think your grandchildren, mama, would get this university at what state. At what state will they get this university if we continue to fight like a mouse and cat? The gentleman who's for this motion made it very clear that shame the poor guy doesn't even know. It's his first time attending the meeting. He was just handpicked there to put a motion there. The poor guy was nervous when he got there. I mean, I could see him, he was so nervous. But we wanted us to take him serious. Unfortunately, as a neutral person who came, I'm going to vote against this particular motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Die persoon hier in die derde ry van vooraf. I'm recognizing the gentleman there. Other people. I'm recognizing the gentleman in the third row. Other people will get their
Hello.
opportunity after him. Please.
Hello? Hello?
The gentleman defers to the speaker on the other side. Pass the microphone, please.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my name is Túlio de Oliveira. I am a professor at Stellenbosch University. And just to highlight that it was really a breach of interest of the university what happened with the executive of the convocation. At that same week that all upheaval happened in the university, that we got so much bad media publicity, we were opening the biggest investment of the university in the last 10 years. We were opening a building at the medical school that took 10 years to construct, 1.2 billion rands investment. And at that time, when the university was attracting the top scientists in the world, the top media in the world to show how we can do the highest level of science in the world, at that time, the executives of the convocation do not thought about supporting the university. What should be the role to put this university forward, to put this university to be the university that is chosen by everyone in South Africa to be proud. So that was really in bad faith to continue what many people describe as the witch hunt. So they put not only do that in a bad time, when instead of focusing on the positive media for the university, but doing that without consulting a body of 200,000 individuals. Yeah. And what is our job? Our job is to fight back. To fight back, but not to put disrepute of the university. As we spend that whole week putting the name of the university high, we're going to fight back by showing this convocation can make accountable the people that broke that trust of the university. So it's really important that we move here and we become much stronger than we have been. This university, it is, in my opinion, the best university in the country, and we should focus on that. Yeah? That's what attracted me. In the first year that I came to this university, I brought R500 million of funding. And I will continue putting the name forward, but we need to work together. We need to stop this fight. We need to move in a way that we have to build this university forward, because that's what we need, not only in Stellenbosch, but in South Africa. So I think that's very important that we work together, that we really punish the people that have not only followed the rules, but that at a moment that we could choose to really put this university high, they choose that we were on the media for bad reasons. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Whose hand is up?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I have been here and since the first motion, yeah, if you allow.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings, dear colleagues. Accountability is not negotiable. And nobody is above the law. But also nobody is below the protection of the law. And one of the laws that govern this country flows straight from the Constitution, Section 33, the right to just administrative action. We've heard from the Constitutional Court Chair and colleagues that whatever is done in violation of the Constitution is null and void. That is from the point of view of the Constitution of the country. But we can take that jurisprudence to our Constitution too. So we had speaker after speaker reminding us that our executive acted in violation of our Constitution. And our executive says the end justifies the means. That's Machiavellian. The world is in tatters today. We have a war in the Ukraine because leaders say the end justifies the means. What would have stopped the executive from writing to us as Convocation and say, initially, there's an allegation that a violation of the rules of our university has occurred. And then bring us together, instead of today discussing motion after motion, but discussing whether that violation was so serious that we would take what, as somebody who used to be a labor lawyer, we called dismissal the death penalty of labor law. We would have deliberated, but I suspect we would have said the right to just administrative action cannot be overridden, and therefore we would not have asked for a motion to dismiss anybody or for anybody to resign. We would have said nobody is above the law and nobody is below the law. Let process take place. Why? Because we say the law protects the cleaner and the king. And the law guardrails the cleaner as much as it guardrails the king. I was hoping the executive would have said to us today, as people who feel affronted on issues of Afrikaans, we acted in the spur of the moment. And when the issue of nepotism came to our ears, we felt the need to act urgently. But in retrospect, we think we should have consulted you. Advocate Yenis said this body has voice, and this body should not be silenced. But what shocked me was that when he said this body, he seemed to suggest he and the few fellow colleagues in the executive are us. But that's not true. We all grown-ups, we all love the truth, we all love justice. In response to the second motion, Dr. Bays took a different approach to say he believes that we should be consulted. For me, that encourages me. Because Adam Smith said, justice is what holds societies together. When justice fails, society is torn asunder like atoms. And as a university, we have to decide, as a convocation, we have to decide, do we want an end justifies the means approach, or do we want justice? And Can an executive decision, a decision made by an executive, that has already violated the law, our constitution, determine how we deal with one of them? I say no. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Maronsela. May I just inquire, before I take last questions from the floor, are there any questions or comments from the members online?
In my stroom is daar heel wat kommentaar en vrae spesifiek vir Rudy Buys en ek sal dan nou net dit is dit net hier by mekaar hou en dit ook dan nou aanstuur, maar as heel wat vrae kan nie spesifiek een uitlig net gaan oor maar oor Rudy Buys en jou opinie en presies jou standpunt bietjie meer duidelikheid daaroor.
Nog iets verder? Okay. This gentleman's hand was up a while ago in the third row, and then the lady here in the cream top, and then the lady over here.
My name is Gerrit van der Rijn. I share a bed with Louise. I know the color of her undercoat for that gentleman. Meneer Ras, ek onthou nou iewes skielik baie goed. Ongeveer 30 jaar terug het jy aansoek gedoen vir die pos van die Stadsklerk in Vredendal, munisipaliteit. Nog nie so lank hê. Ongeveer daai tyd. Ek was deel van die mense van die Sakekamer wat die onderhoud met die gevoer het. En ek het 'n ongelooflike waardevolle les daai dag by jou geleer and I will switch to English now. You were asked obviously in that period about politics and how things will play out and how you will deal with that within the municipality. And you made a comment and you said, if there's no political structures for people so they can live out their aspirations and dreams, it will end up, and your words was, a revolution. That is so true. And maybe tonight is about people that just want a voice, nothing else. They just want a voice. So that stuff doesn't end up, not in this case a revolution, but a mess where people feel they're disengaged, they can't make a contribution. Maybe what all of this is, just about that. Thank you.
Thank you. The lady here in the cream top and then the gentleman with the cap.
Dankie voorsitter. My naam is Nina Breitenbach. Ek is ook 'n onlangse regsgegradueerde. Dr. Buys het volgens my opgetree presies soos wat hy aan die konvokasie beloof het. Hy het probeer om die res van die IK verantwoordbaar te hou teenoor die konvokasielede wat hom verkies het. 'n Tweede punt teen Dr. Buys is dat hy twis binne die konvokasie gesaai het en veroorsaak het dat die konvokasie se naam beswadder word in die media. Met alle respek gesê, as die IK nie hulle name beswadder wou gehad het in die media nie, moes hulle nie veragtelik opgetree het deur ondemokraties op te tree sonder om die res van die konvokasie of die konvokasie as 'n geheel in ag te neem nie.
Thank you. The gentleman here in the second row with a cap.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had to move twice for you to be able to see my hand. I'm Dr. Steve Binza. I often introduce myself, but I'm from Gabon. Stellenbosch is my hometown, because I lived more in Stellenbosch than in my own hometown in Gabon, Central Africa, somewhere there, not KwaZulu-Natal. Mr. Chair, I'm going to say two things, and that's the reason why I'm going to reject this motion. The first reason is I'll call it the element of language of Advocate Eunice. Because I believe listening to him and reading what he was saying on the media, I would have acted exactly like Dr. Buys if I was in his position. Because I'm a linguist, by the way. As a linguist, unfortunately, when you speak, we linguists, we hear two things, the said and the unsaid. And this is the unsaid that Advocate Hienis has always been saying. First of all, in the media, he referred to Dr. Rain's letter as noise. That I felt as an insult. You cannot refer to a letter from one of the members of a convocation as noise. The second thing, we heard him say right here, but what are your credentials before you speak to me? That means if you nothing, then your voice is not heard. I'm not ready to be led by someone that thinks that my voice is insignificant. In that situation, for that reason, I would have acted exactly like Dr. Rudy. So that's why I understand. But the reason why, although he said that the matters against the rector, all these issues were shared, that's the word that he used, they were shared by the convocation. I would have loved to hear they were discussed during the convocation meeting and the decision was made by the convocation to remove the rector or to launch a motion against the rector. But he said the matters, the issues were only shared. So then he didn't need our voice. He only wanted us to know, and then he acted on his own. Because we are insignificant. We are not advocates, we are not big judges, we don't have big money. So our voice is irrelevant. The second thing, Mr. Chair, although I'm a linguist, but I love history. I always refer to what happened in the past. So this point, I will call it Professor Chris Brink and Professor Russell Botma precedence. We know, I mean, for those who were students in my time, as I said, I lived 9 years in Stellenbosch. I came as a young person, immature. Oh, by the way, I've lived more than half of my life in South Africa, for those who know me. I came as a young man, immature, and learned English and Afrikaans in Stellenbosch, and then studied up to PhD. Now, one thing that I know, that Prof. Chris Brink was one of the best rector, but he left. And then the year he left, I was member of a student society council. We all knew that he was a very good rector, but he left, although the council, the university council was ready to give him, I think they gave him a second term, but he left. He went to Newcastle, and for those who know, some of the people at the international office, I also have people there, but I know, they also told me that Chris Brink was a good rector, but he left. Because what was the reason he left? The vendetta that he received from the media, from some lobbies, I can say. The second thing was 2014. Then I was already working. I was in Potchefstroom. I lived 7 years in Potchefstroom. Then what happened? Professor Russell Botma, the successor of Professor Brink, died of a heart attack. We all know that. And if you may remember, after his death, there was an article written by Professor Jonathan Jansen. He was then rector and vice chancellor of the University of the Free State. One of the points he was discussing was who killed Russell Botma. What was the issue? Once again, the vendetta that Professor Botma was receiving. So I may understand that our rector, Professor David Yes, might have done something wrong, something that is accountable, but there are procedures. But I will hate a vendetta. I will hate that we lose a good rector just because we're not following the procedures, the right step to make him accountable for his wrongdoings. And for those two reasons, I'm going to vote against this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. The lady in the first row, and then I'm going to allow 2 more questions before closing proceedings.
Ek wil net my volle steun vir Jan gee om die weergawe van die vergadering te bevestig. Ons het almal gepraat en debatteer oor die mosie. En aan die einde het ons of die versoek en aan die einde het ons gevra, reg, is dit eenparig? En daar was geen 9 op nie. Geen teenkanting nie. Ons is dan voor en is so aangeteken en ons het aangegaan. Dr. Bewys beweer dat hy nie die konvokasie bestuur se besluit ondersteun het nie. Hy erken egter dat dit reg is vir die lede van die bestuur van die konvokasie om openbare standpunte individueel in te neem. Hy sê dit ook self al met reg gedoen, so hy maak 'n standpunt in die media en hy mag dit doen. Dis sy eie goeie reg om dit te doen. As bestuurslede individueel standpunt mag inneem in die openbaar, waarom nie ook meer as een gesamentlik, soos wat ons gedoen het nie? En as Buys slegs teen die konvokasie bestuur se besluit was, op grond van die inhoud van die besluit, waarom doen hy dan ook nie die eerbare ding en bedank om op grond van die statuutse prosedures wat hy nou aanvoer, verontagsaam was nie? Ek dink Rudy het verantwoording om te doen. Ja. As daar in die media berig word dat hy sê, dit is van alle waarheid ontbloot, dat ons 'n gesamentlike standpunt uitgestuur het, en gesamentlik daaroor gestem het, saamgestem het oor die bewoording, dan is dit of ons, ander, wat jok, lieg, of iemand anders. Ek dink ons 4 mense stem saam, dat die proses het verloop soos wat dit verloop is. En ek dink dit is onregverdig om die res van ons as leenaars in die media uit te kry oor presies wat gebeur het. Die statuut is iets waar julle dalk moet besluit, of dalk moet daar 'n bietjie meer helderheid wees, maar ons glo ons het reg opgetree volgens die statuut. As ons individueel standpunt kan inneem, dan kan ons ook 'n gesamentlike standpunt neem. So, ek gee dit graag vir iemand volgende.
Nog iets? Ja. Okay. One here. En ek sien 2 hande daar, so wat er ene is. Okay. The gentleman here and then the one over there.
Chairperson, I'll be
Yes.
short if you allow me. I'm Tembele to say. I am quite saddened that we sit here today debating a motion where amongst the proposers of the motion are legal practitioners, and they're asking us to go ahead with an unlawful decision. What the proposers of the motion are asking us, Chair, is to say, even if my friend and I go still, he can't turn against me and do the right thing. So Dr. Rudy Buys, even if he voted for the motion and later realized, but this is an unlawful decision, the motion proposers are asking us to crucify him for his repentance. By the way, Chairperson, this convocation executive is so dysfunctional to a point that the ma'am that just spoke now, she counts herself as part of executive. She was never voted in. We don't know who voted her in. She is not an actual member of the executive. Chairperson, I'm on the floor, ma'am.
Come.
Chairperson.
Wind up, please.
The president of this convocation constitutes unlawful meetings. On the 22nd of November 2022, we didn't have quorum, but the meeting went ahead. That also was unlawful. So this is his stance, and we must decide whether we're going to go with it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, last contribution. The gentleman there with his hand up.
Chair. It's on. Can you hear me? Thank you very much, Chair. We've been
Yes.
raising our hands.
Speak up, please.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Chair. I believe, one, that the problem.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Please carry on.
All right. I think the problem is the problem of personalities. To an extent that advocate, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his name. Yeah. thinks that the convocation is his personal cult. That is the problem. I think it is a problem. That's why we're debating motions about so and so, so and so, so and so did what. It's because of this motion is not a motion against advocate. It is a motion against the preceding one. It is a motion against the executive. Now, people are taking it here as it is an attack on advocate. That is incorrect. And the problem here, and the issue is not that there was no nepotism that happened in admin B. That is not the problem. That is not the issue here. The issue is consultative leadership that is lacking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I just inquire whether there are any further contributions online before I ask Mr. Rush to reply? Nothing. Okay. Meneer Rush, u het 5 minute om repliek te lewer indien u wil. U kan maar hier kom staan.
Chairperson, Dr. Buys was very economic with the truth. He had assistance from people trying to soften his participation in what was a consensus decision. It's in fact close to repugnancy. If you are part of a decision, you must stand and fall by the decision. But that to me is not the issue at hand. I mentioned in my address that the real cause of this unsavory situation that this convocation finds itself in lies elsewhere. To come tonight and to preach to us about Dr. Buys' accountability and integrity is rich coming from you. Respectfully. Because we've seen what this so-called accountability, what has happened to that in this country. I am being accused of not being interested in the convocation. That is correct. I am not. And when I walk out here tonight, I will never come back here again. Because you can have this untargeted transformation university as you wish. Call me apartheid apologist, but this is where your country is at this moment, down the tubes. You talk about me being traumatized. Let me tell you what is being traumatized.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rush has the right of reply, and I've given him 5 minutes. So please give him a hearing.
It was mentioned here that by one of the speakers, why did Advocate Jenus not consult the convocation? The answer is straightforward. Because of the gatekeeping. The very same person that is standing in to protect the rector is also the gatekeeper of the alumni office. That is a fact. And nothing goes past that hand if the answer is not yes, open the channel to the convocation. So this alumni office who's playing politics in the public press with me must also be looked into, because they are not serving the best interests of the entire convocation and all the alumni. They are causing division by the stances they are taking from within the alumni and that is okay, because that is in the name of transformation, but it's divisive. Don't speak about unity and have selective morality, because we've had enough of selective morality. We've had enough of people preaching to us that this is how the law will deal with you, and the country is falling apart because of this very same law, respectfully said. And don't think that we fall because of the fact that some of us look different. We're going to fall for this ongoing and continuous labeling. Your time for excuses are over. May whatever comes out of this serve whoever is interested in the future of Stellenbosch University. I am done. I've lost both my children to death. I don't have a future for them here. If this is where you're going with this untargeted transformation, Godspeed to you all. I thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the discussion. We will now vote on the second motion, and you are required, please, to use the pink ballots, no others, and you are required to exercise your vote clearly, either in favor of or against the motion or abstaining. And after that, you are welcome to leave it in the ballot box at the door. And it only remains for me to thank everybody here for their attendance and for their cooperation and for the way in which it has been done. Thank you. Thank you.